items, and it's just informational items.
Thank you. Okay. All right, discussion ordinances. Alrighty. You want to go ahead and explain A? Number
Sure.
1A?
So, Mayor and Council, Mr. Frazier, appeal case. He emailed the town clerk, and he's asked for that hearing to be postponed to another date. He requested to have a full council available for the hearing. So that's kind of up to you if you want to just schedule a date in the future or wait till there's a full council. There's really nothing that I can see in our charter that says he can't ask for that. There's no really date stipulations.
I would say wait till a full council.
We can.
I agree.
Okay. Brian, you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll coordinate with him once full council's
Okay,
seated.
sounds good.
Okay.
Alrighty, and then you got employee matters?
Yeah, just for informational purposes, I just want to let the council know Caroline submitted her resignation today, so she will be leaving us toward the end of June.
When?
Yeah, toward the middle to end of June. She left it a little bit flexible to help work with us as she moves on other directions. Thank you, Caroline. You've done a great job, I think, coming in. So I do want to say I really appreciate the work she's done. I think she's been a fantastic clerk and has really picked things up great. So thank you.
You two ain't going to the same place, are you?
No. No.
Alrighty. And then the cemetery and funerals.
Yeah, just for informational purposes, I just want to let the council know we haven't had any cemeteries since the community building, or excuse me, funerals. We haven't had any funerals since the community building has been closed, just for the structural issues we had. We do have a couple possible funerals that are going to be occurring. So what I've done is I'm going to put in the community building chairs and tables and 6 tents and a speaker, and just for funerals only, not birthday parties, but for funerals only. That way they can utilize the gazebo outside and put some tents up and tables and chairs. So while also allow that gazebo to be reserved for the time of the funerals. So I just want to let you guys know that case so you know what's going on if you see town chairs and things out there. So we didn't have any funerals last year, so this is the first year we've had funerals for a while.
Yeah, lately we've been making up for that. Lately.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And D, approval for Collins and Associates.
So yeah, D and E kind of go together. I'm not sure if you want to kind of start talking about salary and qualifications. I think there's a few things as a council you guys need to kind of decide together as a group. And if you decide to go with CB Associates, I'm sure they'll be reaching out to you individually to get your thoughts on exactly what you're looking for. Our town attorney recommended once they put a flyer together that would come back before you for you guys to approve to make sure it's the way you want it in there. So the two discussions is the recruitment proposal from CB Associates, and then just this general discussion of what you're looking for in the manager and kind of setting the salary range and qualifications and the other conditions that you need to discuss together as a group.
Okay, so Collins interviews each council person and sees what they want. And then he puts together his whatever advertisement. And you're thinking we should review all that before he puts it out there and make sure we agree with it, right? Okay. So then after we do that, he puts it out there, and then we see who comes along. But on a salary range and minimum qualifications, the salary range we're at with the 4%, what is it gonna be, 150? I think.
Yeah, currently 144.1, and yeah, 4% will put it close to 150. You may, I'm not sure what type of applicants you can get. I've always suggested a range is good because you may have if you had a range, you may have some people apply that are ready to go to that manager step and not quite ready for that salary range. And on the reverse, and if you had a little bit of a higher range, you may get some people that are qualified that really would like to step into that position versus just saying this is what it is. You can have some flexibility based on what you get back in resumes and experience to negotiate a little bit.
Yeah, so you can have a salary range of, 110 to 160, but you don't pay to 160 if you don't have to. Qualifications, that's what we're all going to decide when we're talking to Collins, really, wouldn't it be? Because I don't think we're all going to agree on the qualifications.
Yeah, I guess it is, what, as a general discussion, do you want someone previous manager experience? Do you want to advertise that way, or say preferred previous manager experience? Do you want someone that's a credentialed manager, which means, they have the experience in the background and, they abide by, all the criteria of ICMA? So, there's some cities that won't even accept the application if you're a credential manager. We're probably not that here, obviously. But, those are kind of things I'm looking at. Is there some minimum things that you would like to see from experience-wise or something that, just to get started, kind of putting that together?
Do you have anything to add to that?
No,
You got a lot
I
of
mean,
experience.
I do think it's good to start thinking about because Colin will ask, and that's something that will go out in the bulletin for your job position and your job posting. And so it is helpful to start thinking so you can get in alignment with whatever those qualifications are and the salary range.
Mm-hmm. Well, whatever it is, it's going to be the retirement fund gets kicked into that too, right? Whether they take it,
You
the
do
money, or
have
take
our
it.
FRS. Paul's is not through FRS.
Right.
It was outside of that, so you have that ability at that level position, I think, to exclude them from the FRS system. But yes, that's something, obviously you'll let them know that you have that as the retirement system, but they may ask you for something different.
Yeah, but say like somebody that's applying from out of state doesn't understand the FRS. So I'm sure Collins would explain that to them.
Correct.
So we need to make Colin understand that we're going to do that because that's required by a state, right? The retirement FRS is either FRS or the money paid to the person at a certain percentage is from the state.
It's my understanding that the town manager position is one that is excluded if they want to be.
Yeah, so you're required to offer FRS to all employees, so including your manager, senior managers, the senior manager position, and there's one other one, they have the option to opt out of FRS. And so that's what I did. I opt out, and you just pay the same rate into a 401A for me versus the FRS. It's just more beneficial to me. So 98% of the people are probably going to want to stay with FRS, more than likely.
But it's a certain percentage of your pay.
That's correct.
And
Yeah.
that's governed by the state, not
That's
by
correct.
us.
The state sets the rate.
What is that? I forgot.
So, I think it's 33.1 right now. It actually, what I saw from the draft documents, it might go down a little bit for 2027, which is weird, just like a percentage point. I want to say it's like 13.1 for regular employees.
Okay, so we hire somebody for $145,000. We also have to offer them FRS and pay up to 33% of their pay into FRS every year, or they can opt out at that level and take the cash and do whatever they want with it at that point. Just so you guys understand that.
I'm assuming that if they decide to opt out of the FRS, the state requirement for the 30-something%?
33, yeah, that's the number that they use.
Yeah.
So what's that, like $47,000 on 150? Something like that, 49.
Yeah. I mean, the town's going to end up paying it because they have to one way or the other. So if they opt out, they're just going to move that money to a different retirement plan, which is what I did. So I just had more selection opportunities in a 401A, and that's why I opted out. And the town just contributed to a different retirement plan. So you're still contributing the same rate. It's just to a different plan.
And that rate is not set by us.
That rate is set by the state.
By the state.
They tell you, I want to say it comes in around June or something like that every year. They say, here's what it is.
Something about what?
I think around June, they tell you what the rate is. May or June, somewhere
That's a
there.
pretty good perk in a work field, but that's what it is. Okay, and the qualifications we got to think about. So salary range and qualifications. Anything else anybody can think of, want to talk about? Okay. All right, well, let's move on. Go ahead.
So I have a question, I guess. If we could backtrack a little bit. So with today's meeting, if we agree on this company, the recruitment company, that means we're going with them. We don't have to do like an actual official reading at the next meeting.
No, we noticed it as a special meeting, and so you can approve this contract if you wish.
Okay. With that being said, I just wanted to know for, I guess for reference, why did we just default to this company? I mean, it's a lot of money, obviously, you know, for recruitment services, $32,500. You know, I would have hoped to see maybe 2 other bids just to kind of see what, you know, what we're getting and what we're not getting. So.
Sure. If you look at I sent you a Florida League of City recruitment packet of how to recruit managers. And there's not a whole lot of companies out there that do specialize in city manager searches. And if I want to say around page 10 or 12 of that packet I sent you from FLC, they have all the recruitment companies that are available. And I think there's only one other in Florida. The rest of them are kind of Georgia, California, Utah. And by default, CB Associates, they probably in this Central Florida, East Coast area, West Coast area are probably the most known and well used. And we'll have probably more contacts in the area just because they do work in this area. So yeah, you can get some other bids. Generally, the ones I've seen other cities get in the past, usually CB Associates have been the cheapest. They do more small towns. A lot of the other ones, like Mercer, for instance, and there's a couple others there. You know, you'll be seeing $50,000 to $75,000 coming in, but they do a lot of larger cities, so they're more comprehensive type of group. So we can bring you back if you want to look at some more. We can definitely bring back a couple more bids for the council to look at. They're just kind of the default one around here everybody uses.
Okay.
If that answers.
Yeah, it's, at the end of the day, I just don't want to, you know, I don't want the appearance that we're just giving preferential treatment to just a specific company, and that applies also to the software company. I didn't see any other bids. But nonetheless, it's a very detailed report. I did go through it. I did see that they have a very long history, obviously, of doing this. I get that part. But there were a few questions that I did have. You know, I wish a representative would have been here for this one, but maybe you guys can fill it in. But for the, let's see. So for the needs assessment in phase 1, it says the firm gathers information from the town and interviews elected officials, staff, and stakeholders. I just wanted to, I guess, make sure that, are we doing that, or are we bypassing that? Because it says that they're technically supposed to interview us on a one-on-one basis, staff, as well as possibly involving the community. So I just didn't know if that's what we're doing, because that's what the report says, or we're just hiring them to find us a town manager and everything in between doesn't matter. So I just wanted clarity.
So my guess is that's kind of their generic boilerplate language. They will do and include as much as you want them to do. Each of those steps will add time to the process, and so you just have to kind of consider that. I would, Anita's gone through this more, I'll let her comment, but I know all the council members will probably be asked, and they may contact some of the staff. Anita, you just recently had an experience, I think. Did you know kind of how they reached out?
Yeah, in the In the most recent month, I don't know if they spoke to staff. I think they definitely met with the public officials. I think if you want them to meet with your staff, then you would give them that direction, as well as if you want them to have any stakeholder meetings. So I think it's in there, it's included in the price. You can hold them to those tasks because that's what's in the contract. But they really, I think, take direction on those issues, whether or not you want them speaking to staff and stakeholders.
Okay. Yeah, I see that in regards to the timeline, June 10th is basically when they technically would begin doing the interviews, and then all the way to September 18 is when they're basically hoping to have someone hired. So I guess the wait time in there is built in, I assume, to be able to talk to the council members. I would like to see some community input. I don't know, what's the more efficient way of doing that, but from my perspective, I would like for them to interview elected officials, the staff, and then also somehow survey the community. That's just my opinion. I don't know about the rest of the council. Let's see.
You're saying you want the residents to put opinion in?
Yeah, some form of input, whether it is a specific, I don't know, public comment section, just to hear what they think that we should have as traits and characteristics for a town manager. It's just, the way I look at it is information from all different perspectives. So it's not just the interior information, it's the exterior. So outside looking in, because we are on the inside, so we're going to miss a few things. I don't know how we could, possibly make that efficient. I think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, it might be. Might be.
On there, it did say something about we get to interview the candidates. Is that something that, I guess it's going to happen, or?
Yeah, so usually when you bring in the candidates, they will schedule individual meetings with you with each candidate, and then they also have a formal, that's usually the same day. So they'll line you up. You'll have a full day of interviews, and they'll line you each up with them. And then that evening, generally, they'll do the group interviews where all of the council and the candidate and the public are present.
Okay. So it does spell out that it's up to the town to pay the per diem for the applicant that interviews and or if they bring their spouse. Is that, I guess, what we're doing, or we're going to give them a per diem of any sort, reimbursement for travel, lodging?
Yeah, I think you would get your final list of applicants. Let's say you get your top 5 or 6 applicants, and then you can decide if you want to do that. If I recall, when I did mine, I was in Colorado. My first one was by Zoom call. Then I came down. I didn't take a per diem from the town because I just wanted to come down anyway to check the area out before I went any further. So, you can negotiate that if you got an applicant and you do a Zoom and they're not in the area and you really like them, and if it's, if you think they might be a good fit, then yeah, definitely, pay a little bit of money to get them down here to do an interview, make sure they're the person you want. But that's all, that'll, as you go through the process, I think.
Okay. And then as for the reference checks, does the recruitment company, I guess, do they do that directly, or is it up to the town to do the reference checks?
They will handle all of that for you.
And they will provide those to you, and they're pretty detail orientated. So they'll actually get interview sheets, include reference letters, and you'll have all those when you get your final 5 applicants. All that will be included as you guys deliberate on who your next manager is going to be.
Do we know how long it's posted, I guess, as open, available, the position? Is it a month or weeks?
In the report, it looks like they're on their current schedule. They would post it July 3rd, and I'm looking by July 24th it would close. Depending on the applicants, oftentimes on these searches, I would say probably 30 to 40% of them, I see the dates extended because they haven't got quality applicants in. So it could be extended past that. If they don't have the quality applicants that you're looking for, they'll leave it open a little bit longer.
Yeah, we went through 2 rounds, if I remember right. when we were hiring Paul,
2 rounds.
where he advertised it and people came in, we didn't
Find
pick
someone and
anybody,
then-
and did it again.
How many did you guys get that first round? How many interviews?
I'd be guessing, I'd say 3 or 4. And then on the second round, I think we got 3. And that's when we picked Paul.
And then in regards to the 32,000 that we're going to pay them and change, what is it, 32.5. I guess like which account is that going to come from? Like where we're pulling the 32.5 from, and when is it due? Is it due up front or is it due at the time of hiring the town manager?
We'll have to look. I'm not sure what the payment schedule is in there. It probably will be spread out among all departments, more than likely, under professional services. All departments have professional services. So really the department percentages that you see the town manager's salary come out of, it'll probably be broken out similar to that in the departments. Or the alternative is you can do a budget amendment and just put it all in one section if you just want to physically see, here's where the 32.5 was for it, and have it in the budget for future reference.
Yeah, so we could take it out of budget for next year.
Correct.
Yeah, I would put it in its own number.
Yeah, so we can do a
I would
simple budget
recommend
amendment for that.
Just saying.
And also note on the date, the September 18th, if all goes well as planned, you know, that's for the selection of the town manager, then you also have probably 30 days where that town manager will also start, because, you know, they're going to have to give notice of their current jobs. Contract negotiation sometimes does take more time. You know, I mean, ours, I think mine took 3 weeks maybe with you guys, 3 or 4 weeks.
Hmm?
The payment schedule is based on the phasing,
Okay.
so that's on page 21. So as they complete a phase, then they're going to invoice you.
Okay. In regards to the town communicating with the company, how is that going to be handled, and who's going to be the primary point of contact? Because I assume that our current town manager kind of can't really be involved in the process of hiring another town manager, I assume. Is that?
Yeah, so I can, under my ethics from ICMA, I can assist in passing information on and giving information and giving direction, but I in no way will be involved in any way of giving advice to council on which person to select, which one I like, and things along that line. So I can help pass information, but Anita more than likely will probably be your key contact person for most of that, and unless I'm just, you know, giving, you know, trying to transmit information for meetings and things like that back and forth. But I'll probably defer most of that to Anita to do for on your guys' behalf.
In regards to negotiations, it did state in there that it's technically up to us if we want to negotiate or if we want to let them negotiate. Do we, I guess, know which route we're going?
Well, we're going to give them a range and ask them, this is what I would envision, we're going to give them a range in salary, and that's going to be advertised. So when they come here, they're probably going to ask you, what's my starting salary? And at that point, you know, we can have an answer.
Okay.
But we, you know, we're going to have to listen to them and decide if we even like the person or him or her. And you know, it's a lot more easier to do while you're doing it. It's just like hiring anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I recall when I did mine, it was a little bit of both. There was a little bit of call-in, working back and forth with you guys individually and as a group, and, you know, came to a meeting or two, then there was a little bit back and forth directly with council and the mayor as well.
Okay. Now, for the salary side of things, the report did say that they could assist us with information on salaries. Obviously, they do this for a living, hiring town managers, so they have baselines to go off. When would we, I guess, get any information from them in regards to that, to the salary ranges?
They're going to probably discuss that with you at the beginning before they actually post the advertising, because they do want to include a range that you're comfortable with. Because there have been people who didn't really pay attention to that, and they expected more when they came.
So,
So it's good for you, that's why I'm saying, think about what you're okay with, and you're gonna have different experience levels. So that's why the range really is important. If you get somebody experienced, you may be willing to pay them more than if you get someone who maybe was an assistant city manager somewhere, but you're willing to give them their first town manager position, you may not want to pay as much. So that he will discuss with you. He'll usually provide you comps of what he's seen in the area currently. And for the town your size with what departments you have, because you don't have police, you don't have fire, and he'll give you a good range, what he thinks you can hire someone at.
now, it's not just salary too, so I just want to make sure that, I guess, we're on the same page. There's obviously car allowance, phone allowance, there's professional membership and trainings, so it's not just coming up with a number for the salary, it's taking a look at the overall, I guess, compensation package. So I just kind of wanted to voice that, just to ensure that we don't, I guess, miss any of these things.
I think, and Paul can speak to this probably better because he's been through this process, but I think typically your candidates are going to look at your current contract, and they're going to ask for things that they like in your contract for you to provide, and then other benefits that they would like to have. So I agree, it's not just the salary you need to think about, it's you have a personnel policy that sets some of your benefits, but then with the manager level, you can negotiate more. And some managers, they have different, depending on what stage of their career they're in, they have different wants and needs. So some things may not be important to them. Health insurance might not be important to them if they're already at 65 years old. And so they may ask for something else, a higher range of percentage of their salary for their retirement account or something like that. So I think that's where the negotiation's going to get in. Once you really kind of pick someone, they're going to say what their wants are, and then you'll have to go back and forth.
In regards to the, I guess, where the town manager is going to reside, do we have it in the charter where they have to stay in city limits, or can they they're not forced to live in city limits?
I'll have to look at your charter. I don't recall if we put that in there or not.
If it's not, can we require it? Or say like within, I don't know, 15 minutes of the town or 20 minutes?
Typically, most cities do require that, and they put it in the contract, the employment contract.
Okay.
And it currently is not in our charter.
Okay.
In fact, I had it put in my contract. I did it as a request that I'd be within 30 minutes, I think, of the town is what I have in mind.
What was that? I didn't hear what it was.
Requiring the new town manager to live within 15, 20, 30 minutes or city limits. Okay.
And I would always say, just from past experience and talking with other managers, when you do that, you got to be careful too, because if you say you require someone to stay in the town limits, Montverde housing is not cheap. In fact, when I came here, there was 2 houses on the market because I wasn't looking for the size of the house I ended up in, but I didn't really, there was nothing else in the area. Now there's more options, but we're more expensive, and there are managers in Lake County that get housing per diems where they're paying for their housing. That has happened in Lake County. So if you put those requirements, you might have to end up paying more to offset that, and that's not uncommon for housing per diems for managers, especially in areas that are very expensive to live in. You're seeing more and more of that as trying to lure more people into the area.
Okay. The salary itself, there's obviously a lot of municipalities. There's like 14 in Lake County. We're all different shapes, sizes, and obviously the amount of people in it. When I started looking at the salaries, one thing that really kind of like came out is there is no one else exactly like us with the amount of population that we have, with our current budget, with the current staff levels. It's just, it fluctuates. So it's not apples to apples to say, well, mascot is getting paid this, let's base it off of that, or, base it, off other towns around us that are much bigger than us. That's one thing that I did kind of realize when I was researching it, is just that there's not many small towns with the budget and the staff levels that we have. So something else to consider, I guess, for the council, when we're looking to negotiate salaries. just, we have to keep those things in mind. And I get it, we have to be competitive as well.
Yeah, and also it's kind of, it's funny, if you talk to managers that ever worked in a small town, now they're running big cities, they will tell you, I will never go work at a small town again in my life because I never worked so hard in my life. Because you have to wear many, many hats, which makes you need to be a very different type of personality to do that. Where when you're in larger cities, I'm monitoring 13 staff members. In larger cities, you're basically monitoring 6 directors and it's going, more meetings, it's a different type of role than what it is. So this it does require somewhat of a difference. So just because I always say don't compare population, because there's a point where a manager just goes from meetings to meetings to meetings, and that's their role. Where here, you're looking for a little bit person that can put on a lot of different hats, because it is a small town, and that's very typical with a small town. And the hours worked are generally a whole lot more sometimes in small towns than they are in larger towns.
Yeah, when he was being hired, we asked, can you operate a backhoe? And he said yes, and I said he's hired.
Well, that's all I wanted to kind of highlight, so.
Alrighty, great.
Well, I got a couple of points. When I was reading through this, there were specific things that I was looking for, and most of it I found, but I was kind of looking for information regarding retention rates, and I didn't see any hint of anything like that in their report. Can we get any information, statistics on what their retention rates might be?
So nationwide, city managers are 4 to 6 years on average for retention.
Yeah, but I'm talking specifically about Collins.
Oh, about Colin, about who stays where?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think they could probably provide that.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the coin would be the failed placements. How many?
In the contract, it does say that if they resign within a year, whoever we hire, that they won't charge us for the $32,000 again. It'll just be cost.
Get that replacement guarantee, which I think is good. But it reads really well as a marketing piece, but it doesn't tell you any of that ugly stuff. So the retention rates, roughly percentage, how many people are still in their role, what the failed placements may be, and average tenure of the hires.
Well,
The upshot, I think that they do a good background check. I like the disclosure questionnaire that they ask. I think the reference from 2024 is a little dated. Just in opinion, they might want to update that. For us as a town, as a council, I think that we should consider the fit and not just the credentials. We definitely want somebody that has on paper the ability to do the job, but they need the personality, I think, that kind of goes along with Montverde. So it's not just qualities and your credentials, but it is a big part of his personality. And that's my input on it to this point.
Alrighty. Anything else? So we're gonna okay the contract or not okay the contract tonight, right?
Yes, some sort of direction, either approve this or give us direction if you want to see other proposals.
Well, being familiar with this and knowing that a manager lasts an average of 5 to 7 years, and I worked with Collins last time. He did a great job for us. I'm all for moving forward with him. And I do know the rates, and his rates about the exact same as the other company. So I would make a motion that we move forward with Collins so we can get this thing rolling. But I need a second.
I'll second the motion, but I would like to know the retention rates and, just to have the numbers.
Okay, I got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
To public.
Oh, I'm
comment,
sorry.
please.
I open it up to the public, one at a time. Come on up.
Joe Morganelli, 16535 Highland Avenue. First thing first, Caroline, I am sorry you're leaving. I was really looking forward to working with you in the future. So, question about Caroline, I mean, you guys are talking about town manager. Any discussion on clerk, what you guys are going to do for the clerk? Exit interview as to why she's leaving. Some things to consider for you guys. I do agree with Paul as far as the 30-minute distance, because it is tough to find housing here. It would make it more easier to find something elsewhere. Do we need a town manager? Can we go back to strong mayor? That's the question.
Yes, we need a town manager. Unless you, yeah, we need a town manager.
Okay. All right. I mean, because we somewhat have a strong mayor yet, but I mean, that's why I'm asking. Like, do we need?
Have you ever lived in a city with a strong mayor?
I'm in one now.
No, have you ever lived in one?
I currently do.
Oh,
So,
well, we have a city manager government here.
well,
And I
on
can
paper
tell
in
you,
the charter, yes, but
as the mayor that gave up the position, so we could have a city manager government, the mayor, when he's a strong mayor, has full control. And it is extremely dangerous, in my own personal opinion, and that's why I had brought it to council to move forward with getting a city manager government, and the residents already made that decision.
the backhoe qualification, Neil could maybe do an interim town manager, you know, or Grant may have someone that can do that as well for a backhoe construction. All right. Carol, you had mentioned in reference to background checks. I'd be remiss if I didn't remind council that we have someone who can do phenomenal background checks on people. So,
And I might be remiss if I say, yeah, we should probably include that with staff employment and
of
not.
course, yes.
Yeah.
All right, and then last question is, this is more for Paul. And again, we didn't really have YouTube videos back then. Did you watch our town meetings before you? Because again, I remember what they were before you got here. They were very tough to watch. But did you? Do you remember?
I can't say anything sticks out.
Okay, all right. I guess that's the only question. Is hopefully then whoever is going to fill that role is going to look at what he's coming into. I guess that's the only question.
When did we start with Lake County? That was 21?
Lake County, what, fire?
No, South Lake TV.
Oh, God.
2 years. I think about 2 years ago.
Yeah, so I don't
Yeah.
think video existed prior to that.
We had something. I remember something. It was really, I think it was Zoom because it was during COVID and
It
everything.
might have been.
So, but I think that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was real raw, whatever it
I started the
was.
Zoom, so there was nothing here before that.
Oh, all right. All right. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Caroline, do you want to say why you're leaving? If you're comfortable, go right ahead.
Are you having a baby?
And if you don't want to, that's fine too.
You get, she's got a smile on her face. I don't know.
You can be
I-
blunt.
I,
Okay. Just giving you the
but I'm
opportunity.
grateful for the opportunity. It's been really great working with you and the
Okay.
council and their staff.
Alrighty, thank you. All right, well, let's move on. Do we want to, we had a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Sorry, Mayor, I didn't know if there was any more public comment.
Oh, is anybody else? Come on up. Got it, pull the mic down to you and name and address.
All right. Lorraine Seaman, 16325 Florence Oak Court.
Thank you.
Okay. Just a quick question. Just trying to find information.
Mhm.
It seems like a lot of money for a recruitment company. Have we contacted any of the major universities that have grad school programs with very rich, very knowledgeable alumni in the area? We have excellent universities in the area. Has anybody thought about contacting some of these universities and see if any of their alumni, they have lists of alumni people, universities know what their alumni are. Have we researched that at all before we go and spend, what is it, 30-something thousand for a recruitment company? Just a thought.
You're saying alumni that's in school right now?
Yes, I'm saying you have Rollins Grad School that has tons of qualified people. My children went to Bishop Moore. They went to school with Morgan kids. There are tons of people in the community that went to universities here. Maybe think about getting in touch with some of the top universities in the area that have this type of degree and career. They might be able to find you someone for less than $30,000.
So somebody that doesn't have hands-on but has a lot of education.
So the colleges probably know who their alumni are. They don't meet. I know Bishop Moore. I mean, I run tons of organizations within Bishop Moore and St. John. There are tons of alumni. Everybody knows everybody in this town. You might find somebody, spread the word through the colleges, have the colleges research and get in touch with some of the alumni. Hey, this town is looking for somebody. Each department, you might be able to find somebody without spending $30-something thousand. Just a thought. You might want to think about it.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to talk to council about this topic? All righty, bring it back. We had a first and a second. Can we do the roll call?
Councilmember Rubio,
Yes.
Councilmember Roberts,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Womack,
Yes.
Mayor Weincoop.
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. Let's move on to our next discussion. If you would, please read 2026-16, Anita.
A resolution of the Town Council of the Town of Montverde, Florida, approving the iWorks Service Agreement and Addendum Number 1 for iWorks applications and services for software solutions to manage community development, planning and zoning, public works, citizen engagement, stormwater and facility management, water treatment plant, infrastructure, and workflows, providing terms and providing for an effective date.
All right, can you explain that, Paul, please?
Yeah, so council, mayor, staff has been looking at different software companies to help improve the flow of our building permit process and development process. They've tried some different ones online, and this is staff's recommendation to replace CitizenServe that we currently use with the iWorks program. One of the biggest advantages of this program is the staff that did the trials, and it was combination of Patty, Maya, and I'm not sure who else, so there's a couple others that looked at it. I think Public Works looked at it. It was simple to use and has some similar features as CitizenServe, but more simple to use, especially if the interface with public. In addition, it's used by other municipalities in the area, and Alpha is very familiar with it. So there's two parts of the program. One's the front end where we deal with it. Then the back end is when our building inspectors and stuff do it in the field and get on their iPads when they do their inspections. And this is a system that they already are using, so it'll be easy for them to jump into it and use it for us. And with all the next round of housing we have, we need to get something in place fairly quickly that's everybody could utilize. So price is reasonable. It's actually a little less than what CitizenServe is after the setup, and would recommend approval.
So what were they using? I can't remember when we hired them.
So right now we're currently using CitizenServe.
Is that what the inspection company had? I can't remember. Alpha?
Before that, I think we were doing it all on paper. If I recall, everything was paperized. So we did the first electronic one with CitizenServe, and so this is kind of the next step going over to the iWorks.
And more than likely, if we had to, we could find somebody that has experience on this to hire if, let's say, Patty couldn't do it no more.
Yeah. I think there's a familiarity in the area with the program. So.
Yeah. All righty, I'll open up to the public. Anybody want to talk about this subject?
Joe Morganelli, 16535 Highland Avenue. So I was reviewing this the contract is being signed by you, Paul, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I guess the question I have for council is we have an outgoing town manager binding the town to a 3-year vendor contract. That's something we should defer to whoever replaces him. We've dealt with the issues that we have now for so long. A few more months won't hurt anything. And you may get a new town manager in here who doesn't like this software, which leads me to my second point, which was for Anita, the legal term of the contract. In section 6 of the base agreement describes the pricing, quote unquote, based on a 1-year term, while section 7 makes no cause termination available only after the 3-year term. So it sounds like it's a lock-in for 3 years, because if further on down the contract there is I guess the full payment here, I have it somewhere on my notes, but there's the full payment that will be due. So is this a 1-year term, 3-year term? And again, we're locking into this with Paul, who again won't be here for that to support it. So that's why that's one of my concerns. Let's see. Basically, section 7 states, if the town terminates any part of the services, the remaining balance becomes immediately due. So again, if we have a new town manager who doesn't like the software, or we don't like it for whatever reason, now we're going to be stuck with this for 3 years, which is again why I'm sort of saying to council, you guys may want to rethink that and table it until we have a new town manager, because maybe that person will like something different. Another question I had, which was the long-term cost, because the annual subscription is $24,000. What's the projected total cost over the 3-year initial term, including the 5% annual escalator that's in the contract, which also has additional asset layers at $500 per year, GIS configuration changes, and contingent fees identified in the Appendix A that was in there, which I'm not sure you guys are going to get all that, but 5 minutes. So last part I think I have 2 more parts actually, but the citizen engagement module that's in this accepts public submissions, including photographs and location data. Does iWork preserve all submissions, including those flagged as spam, edited, or rejected for Chapter 119 purposes? Will citizen submissions through this portal be searchable by the town clerk when responding to public records requests? That's another question I have. The last one I have for you guys is the base agreement permits storage of sensitive personal information, including driver's licenses. Has the town adopted a written data classification, access control, and retention policies governing that data before authorizing residents to upload it through the system? So those are all my questions I have, and I don't, hopefully you guys get only 5 minutes, so. But anyway, thank you.
Alrighty, thank you very much.
John Keys, 16831 Florence View. Mr. Rubio brought up that we have a very unique town. He did some research and realized that, we are unique and it's unusual. So I would say that someone who's been here and knows the town and knows the people and knows the staff is the perfect person to decide whether this is the right software or not.
Oh, good point, thank you. Anybody else? Alrighty, we'll bring it back to council. And anybody have anything?
As someone that's used Citizen Serve for several years, I'm not a fan, so I'm looking forward to seeing something different. That said, I do have a current application through the town with Citizen Serve. How's that transition going to work out for anyone else that has that?
Yeah, so citizen service will still be active. The setup process is about 2.5 to 3 months, and then they will actually pull all the data over to the iWorks as a part of the agreement. So once everything is set up and going, then they'll pull all the current permits over to the iWorks program.
And which one of our staff is primarily going to be in charge of this? Would that be Sandy? Or
Pretty well Mai and Patty are the 2 that will use it the most.
and how much input did you get from them in regards to this company?
This is what they selected. I honestly did not go through the program or do a test at all. So I let them look through multiple different ones. I want to say at least 3 they looked through. and this is what they came with, and they called and checked with some other cities, and this is what they would really like to get working on it. So
So the staff that's gonna use it is the staff that picked it.
that's correct. And I can't imagine a manager is going to come in to this town with the $15 million in grants and the capital projects we have going and want to spend his first year messing with iWorks program. So I don't think that's even realistic. That may be something they'll look 3 to 5 years into the job of, you know, other processes. There's going to be so much for them to jump into. That's the main stuff that needs to be dealt with, so the town doesn't lose finances and money. You know, that this would be a favor to them to make sure everything is running smooth, and that's what we're trying to do, is set up all the processes to run smooth for the next person to come in.
Not to cut anybody off at the knees, but he doesn't really have the authority to say, no, we're not gonna use that, does he? Or her, the town, whoever the town manager may be, that's a council decision, yes?
For what?
If we get a new town manager and that person decides that they don't like it, right, the iWorks, they don't have the authority to cancel anything, that comes before the council, correct?
Yeah, on the contract, yeah, that will come. He'll do what we're doing currently. Currently, we have a contract with CitizenServe. We're not as happy as we wanted to be with it, so we've come with another proposal before council, and they'll approve the contract. That's correct.
But I kind of think, like you, given everything else that's going on, that's probably the bottom of the pile.
Yeah, I can't imagine that would
Especially if he's
be
not.
any issue. For,
Yeah, it goes to other staff
Yeah.
members.
yeah, the goal is try to get some of the hiccups, you know, that we have kind of smoothed out a little bit, so the manager doesn't have to deal with that right coming in.
Me personally, I would have to agree with John that you've been here 5.5 years, and when you came here, our permitting process had just started. It was maybe, what was about 6 months old, Nita, when he got here, when Paul got here? And the school was building their building, remember they had it fit? Remember they came here and were yelling?
Yeah, Lake County was doing the permitting.
Oh, yeah, we had to let them finish that because it was a mess. But it was something we needed to do, since it would take a week for somebody to get an AC permit from the county. And so we did it on purpose. But anyway, I would rather have Paul pick it because he's been here a long time. And but all right, so I'll bring it back from the down to the council again. Anybody else on council have anything? If not, I need a motion to move forward or deny. Oh, go ahead.
A few things. To start with, this contract is only 3 pages long. The recruitment contract, I didn't count, but it's a whole lot more than 30 pages. So I just want to preface that, you know, where I'm going with this. So if we approve this, I guess we should understand that it's a 3-year, automatically we're locked in. There is no other way out after year 1, after, you know, if we realize this software doesn't work, you know, doesn't fit us, we're stuck with them. The first year is $39,000, then $24,000 every year thereafter, with the 5% increase built into it. The contract does not state anything about cybersecurity responsibility. So if they have a data breach, who's ultimately responsible? You know, it doesn't really spell it out. You know, so I assume it could be left for debate, and you know that becomes a liability in the town. There's nothing in there in regards to cybersecurity, data breach, or any standards that they're following with their online stuff. There's also nothing on there for ADA compliance. It didn't mention that one word in regards to that. They basically keep everything in the cloud and they have access to it. What's going to happen when we have a records request? Do we have to go and ask them to fish it out for us, or are we going to be able to just automatically go in and get it? You know, that's, you know, it doesn't really spell that out. And again, there's going to be a lot of sensitive information on there, and I feel like we have no control because they own it. They own the rights to it. It's our data, but they own it. If we want our data from them, such as customer information, they're going to charge us $2,500 to give us our own information, like information that belongs solely to the town. So, you know, this contract is, you know, it doesn't give me a warm, fuzzy feeling. There's a lot of holes in there. A lot of things not mentioned that leaves it just open-ended. The data migration. we have one shot to give them all the data up front. And if we do that, and that's included with that 39,000, anything after that, they're gonna charge us for additional services. So that means that staff or whoever's assigned this, they have to make sure that they have this correct the first time. I don't understand why they're so strict on that. It's a 3-year contract that they're asking us to, essentially sign, and there's really nothing else that they're willing to do. It's more like, give me what I want and that's it. As for the support, I think they have decent support hours, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. Again, back to what I mentioned for the recruitment company, we have only one bid. I understand staff looked into this, but again, I would like to see other bids to see what we're getting or not getting. Let's see. Also, there is, I believe, a 30 or 60-day built-in timeline or notice that we have to provide if we decide not to renew. You miss that, you automatically are going to renew. If you decide to cancel at any point during those 3 years, you owe them the 3 years. At that point in time, it's due. So we cancel after the first year, something happens, you still got to pay them the remaining 2 years. It's a lot of money. I agree with Mr. Morganelli. I would think the person to spearhead this should be the town manager, or at least have oversight. And during this transition, we don't have that oversight. So I would highly, highly encourage that we table this so after we get a town manager. So that's just my 2 cents.
All righty, thank you very much. Anybody else? All righty. Well, it looks like we either make a motion to move forward or make a motion to not move forward at this time.
I'll make a motion that we move forward with resolution 2026-16 as presented.
I have a motion to move forward. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. And all I need is everybody that wants to move forward, say aye. Aye. Against, say nay.
Nay.
Nays don't.
And I would hope that we include the cybersecurity language in there to not become liable. So.
Okay, and ayes have it. All righty, I think that's it for tonight. 1 hour. Pretty good, huh? I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. I remember Billy used to say that. Remember Billy?